Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Chiefs win. Cry, Eagles, cry.
Great, excited to be back in the league.
You know, every day I got the Three Stooges in the studio with me is a good fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So let's make sure he gets that bag.
F-R-A-U-D-S, fries! Woo!
Addison's way ahead in picks. That's all that you need to fucking know.
Show's over.
Show's over. We're going home. I would like to welcome you back to another page of the Playbook Sports Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite sports talk show, the Playbook Sports Podcast, where we got something special for you today.
Yes, we do.
Today, we're coming at you with my buddy Opal. It's first round mock draft, top to bottom, and we're going to go through. He's going to give me 5 picks. We're going to talk about them. Give me another 5 and so on and so forth. How you feeling today? You ready to rock?
I'm feeling great. I'm excited to get this mock out there, and I'm hoping I have a high accuracy with my picks, baby. I'm just excited to get it out there, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is going to be great. We're going to do this where all 4 of us have our own first round and leading up to the draft, which we will be in attendance for. Super excited to go to the draft this year.
Cannot wait.
Can't wait. I'm writing all these down. I'm going to bring them with me so we know who's right, who's wrong, and maybe we'll give the winner a prize or something. I don't know.
That'd be fire.
We'll have some fun with it, you know. But let's not waste any time and let's just jump right into this. Pick number 1, the Chicago Bears. Are they on the clock?
Jumping in immediately. They are not on the clock because they're going to be trading with the Indianapolis Colts. I got Colts going from 4-1, and the Bears receiving number 4, number 35, which is the second round pick for the Colts, and then 2024 1. And I think it's only going to be a 1 next year, strictly because of the demand for the number 1 pick. And you got your division rival right there at 2 as well. You want to go get your guy, and that guy is Will Levis. Got Levis going 1 to the Colts, 6'3", 232. I mean, he's a prototype build, cannon of an arm. He's got some upside to the mobility. He's got any throwing motion, any angle he can make the throw. I will say I have dogged on the guy for the performances at Kentucky and not winning as much as I think he should if he's the NFL-ready guy that people are projecting. But I just think they're going to fall in love with the potential. I think if this was all off potential draft, I think Levis would for sure go 1. He's just got the size. He's got all the builds of what they like at quarterbacks across the league. He's been in the NFL system the past 2 years in Kentucky. They ran the Rams and the 49ers systems the last 2 seasons. I think the culture is going to fall in love with the hype. Irsay, Steichen coming in, new QB. I think he's just going to check all the boxes, and Jim's going to make the call, and they're going to go get Levis. I will say, fun fact I saw on CBS about Will Levis, puts mayonnaise in his coffee sometimes. Absolutely a freak show. So that's who Bob deserves in the Colts. But, yeah, I got the Colts going 1 with Will Levis.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. We'll start. You go through 5, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come back. All right, bet. All right. Well, the number 2, Houston is grinning, licking their chops. They're going to go, we'll take Bryce Young. Don't even got to move up to potentially get the best quarterback in the draft. Yeah. Obviously from Alabama. Guy throws an elite ball. He's listed at 6 foot, 194. We'll obviously see come pro day what all that is. But they're saying he wants to bulk up in weight. We'll see his true height. But I just love everything about Bryce Young. He's a playmaker. He's got a quick release. He makes good decisions. He's accurate with his throws. I think he's clutch. Anytime Bama needs him, he steps up. One thing that I like about Bryce Young, he uses his legs to extend plays, not run. He led the NCAA in most yards, touchdowns, and first downs after scrambling out of the pocket. He had 565 yards, 10 tuds, 52 first downs this year after when he would scramble from the pocket. So you give the guy a clean pocket, he's ripping you apart. Play breaks down, he's ripping you apart with his eyes downfield, ready to make a play. And I think Houston's going to be just licking their chops so they can get this guy at 2.
Okay.
I will say the one thing, the question mark, he just needs to bulk up a little bit. The size is the question because of the injury. I mean, if he's small, but we'll see. Kyler's had success, the injury to his knees because of his size. So yeah, he's done it. Why can't Bryce?
Right.
Number 3. Now, I think Arizona in this scenario is going to be fielding some calls, man, because they got C.J. Stroud available still at 3, and they don't need to take a quarterback. But I think Arizona is going to have to decline those calls because, especially with Gannon coming in, John Gannon, the defensive-minded guy, he's going to want to go get this premier player, premier athlete, and I think they're going to be able to do that, selecting Will Anderson from Bama. A little bit disappointing from a Bears fan's perspective, but he's just an elite edge. I mean, 6'4", 243 is what he's listed at. I mean, he's an immediate impact player. He's quick, strong. He gets off the line quick. He's got good instincts on rushing plays and running plays. I will say just a couple things I've seen, just like watching a little bit of tape and reading a little bit about him. He's missed some tackles because he plays a little bit wild, but it's never, I mean, you can hone that in a little bit in the league, and penalties as well. He was a little bit of a penalty monster this year, but just the upside alone from Will Anderson off the edge. He's an elite best edge in the draft and could be one best player in the draft as well. But I got Arizona filling that need at the end. And then that's flipping back to the Bears trading down from Colts.
Yep.
And oh darn, they get forced to take Jalen Carter from Georgia.
Huge.
Yeah, 6'3", 300, absolute monster. Questions about the MCL, missed a little bit of time, didn't play as much as maybe he could have, but he's just being smart for the future. I've seen questions about motor as well, but the guy, what motor do you need when you got to get double teamed every single play? I mean, he's got long arms, he gets off the ball quick, he can pass rush, and he can run stuff. I mean, he's just the absolute model of a DT. You just got to hope that he pans out. I mean, everything looks like he's going to. He just fits everything the Bears need at that defensive tackle position, and he's just been a stud whenever he is on the field.
Best player available at that spot.
100%. Now, here we go. Number 5, I think this is going to surprise you as well. I'm going to go third quarterback. C.J. Stroud from Ohio State goes to Seattle. Okay. I'm not sold on Geno for the future. And you look at the Seattle team, they have a roster that's pretty decent. They can keep pieces around. C.J. Stroud. You look at Geno. You give him a 2-year deal, say it's your job. You let Stroud sit because that's the one thing, in my opinion, Ohio State quarterbacks somewhat struggle with is quick reads, quick throws, NFL speed defense coming at them because their offensive line and the spread offense they run there, it's such a difference maker. Stroud, when he's in a clean pocket, he throws 72% completion rate. He threw 35 tutties. Well, when you get pressure on this guy, he's throwing 41% completion percentage. He only threw 6 touchdowns facing pressure. And albeit that might not be much because of the offensive line, but when you're in the NFL, you hate to say Ohio State quarterbacks, but look at them. I mean, Justin Fields, what's his biggest problem coming into the league? Quick decision-making, quick read throws, because they don't have to do that at Ohio State.
Right.
Well, I think C.J. Stroud can come in, sit for a little bit behind Geno. If Geno plays well, hey, man, you're playing another year and you're still the starter, and eventually we go to C.J. Stroud. But if not, you don't even know if Geno's coming back for sure. So you got to at least consider it. And if I'm Seattle, we made the playoffs with Geno Smith. If C.J. Stroud's a home run, baby, I like where we're at. So I got C.J. Stroud going 5. I mean, really love his passing ability. His arms there, he can make any throw. He doesn't really use his legs that much. He doesn't have to. You know what I mean? We'll obviously see that at the next level. But I do think he's a complete passer. It's just, can he make those quick reads? He can make the throws, but can he make the reads? But yeah, that's going to round out my top 5. 3 QBs.
Man, 3 QBs in the first 5 picks, along with a huge trade. Obviously, I mean, that's a great trade. Now there has been a bunch of. I think this is smoke. I don't believe this, but a lot of Justin Fields is getting traded. Like I saw this, I don't know what it was, but one of the, like a sports booking site has the Bears at plus 300 to keep him next year. Plus money, plus 300. That's crazy. I bet if that was on one of like FanDuel or something, I'd be all over that.
You're slamming that.
There's no way this isn't all smoke from Chicago. There's no way they're out on Fields after the season he had. Like, he showed you he's a dynamic playmaker. You got to keep him. And in which case, you get a ton of value.
Idea, Fields would get us similar, I think, ransom to what that first pick would. You know what I mean? So you can't. I obviously love Justin Fields, and I want the Bears to keep him because we're just relying on a rookie to come in and do it. And again, what if he struggles? Okay, well, now we're still a couple of years away. I just don't get how you can go. Colin said this. You can't get rid of the guy who's setting records. I think it might have even been Bob that said it too, but he's setting records with his feet when some of this stuff is just him making plays with his legs. You know what I mean? You can't get rid of the guy. So I agree. Complete smoke, but you got to entertain it though. Just judge that price up for the number 1 because, hey, we might use it to take Bryce Young, and then what? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I like the trade with Indy. I'm surprised it's Levis, but I get what you're saying because there's guys in the league like Levis.
Yeah.
The big arm, the athlete, the guy that's hard to tackle and bring down.
His legs are not a downside. It's a plus side to his game. It doesn't have to use it out of this world at Kentucky, but he's got the ability to. And I think they're going to try to make a splash. It's just the potential off this kid. If you can mold everything from Levis, he might be the best quarterback in the draft. And sometimes that's where it goes. And it's just tough when you see all the reports, man. Colt's going to trade up. They're thinking Levis, you know what I mean? And just looking at it, Bryce Young, there are questions. His size is a question. And I mean, if Obviously, the question's if Levis can put it all together. But I mean, if we're
Mhm.
putting it all together, he's the guy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then I think two, obviously, if Bryce Young is still there, then that's Houston runs up to the podium
Yeah.
for that one.
That's the quickest pick in NFL history. I mean, they've already written that down. Right when they hear Will, it's Bryce Young, Bryce Young.
Yep, go. Yeah. And then Anderson and Carter next. I love both those picks. They both make a ton of sense. Arizona replaces J.J. Watt, and Jalen Carter shores up the middle of that Chicago defensive line. I think that's a great pickup. And you picked up, an extra first next year from Indy, who will probably start Levis at quarterback. And if he's not ready, that first round pick could be really nice next year.
Could be juicy. I will say, I think Arizona, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, especially if it's in my scenario where Levis goes
They
one.
may trade down.
I think people are calling. I just think Gannon, if it was an offensive-minded coach, I could see a trade back big time. But I see Gannon coming in and wanting to get that guy, and Will Anderson could be a stud.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, he is a freak, man. He's very, very good.
Yeah.
Super talented dude. And then Jalen Carter, obviously, can't say enough about him. There was alleged character concerns, but then I just saw this thing on there where he actually took on a walk-on player. So walk-on players don't get money for meals. They don't get free meals. He paid for this kid's food the whole season. The entire year he's paid for this kid's food. Does not sound like a character issue to me.
You know what I mean? He's a guy that's guaranteed the NFL next year. He could just lock in, not be a teammate, but not care. You know what I mean? Why is the walk-on any of his concern? Oh, wait, it's because it's his brother that he grinds with. Right. Day after day, you know what I mean? And that shows character right there.
Yeah, I think he's going to be just fine as a character guy. And then at 5, I wonder, would you have Seattle taking Levis if Stroud went 1?
See, in that scenario, I probably won it because, and I will say, I debated this with Seattle. The question is, what's up with Pete? What's up with the future? Do you not almost go all in with just Geno and almost go all in for these next 2 years and then blow it up? Because what happens when Pete retires? Do they have the plan, the successor? Do you want to bring in this young quarterback?
Right.
Then in a couple of years,
change coaches.
We know everything's changing. But I think maybe Pete loves the game. He wants to stick around. And if he gets that young quarterback that can come in and keep it going, that's a couple more years that he doesn't mind being on the sideline.
I agree. Yeah, I think if Stroud's there, Seattle either looks to trade down. I bet you Vegas is on the phone if they don't have a QB yet. And but I love that pick for them. That's a home run pick for Seattle, who has another first rounder, which we'll get to later in the draft. And they can get some people's top quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I just think, especially with the fact that I think Geno's earned a chance to come back and be a starter, if not for another team, definitely for Seattle. I mean, it took him to the playoffs, albeit floundered in, but still, you made the playoffs, and Geno looked good. He had good stats, and that was another debate. I thought, do they even bring Geno back? But then, can a rookie come in and replicate Geno? He played pretty well last year.
Very well. Good numbers.
He was a top 10 quarterback last year.
Yeah, straight up.
Did a rookie come in and do that? I don't know, but that's why you bring in Stroud. You sit him for a little bit, get him ready, get him acclimated to the NFL, and then you launch him.
I love it.
Yeah.
Great 5. That'd be an exciting
keep those receivers, man. Him and DK for a while. Oh, deep ball Stroud. He's got that. DK can run a deep ball. Mm-hmm.
Love it. Let's go ahead and move on to pick 6, Detroit on the clock.
Yes. Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. I think DN, you get the guy opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. He was second in Big 12 pass rate win rush last year. He's 6'6", 275. He's a monster. He's versatile. He's long. He's physical. He's just the second best edge. And looking at Detroit, they could, there is talks I've seen quarterback maybe, but I just don't get why you're keeping Goff. He played well enough. I mean, I've talked trash on him, but he's played well enough and he's young enough to buy in on him.
Yep.
I think you shore up the other side of the defensive line and get Hutchinson's buddy for the next 5 years, 6 years. You've got 2 elite DNs with great size. And I mean, 6'6", 275, freak athlete. Thank you very much. Yep. Yeah, he had 8 sacks, 50 total pressures last year. You know what I mean? So
that's impressive.
And then you put across him Aiden Hutchinson. He's not going to be able to get doubled every play. And I just love the addition of a huge D lineman.
Build that defense.
Freak, yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Build that D because that North could be yours, and the defense
really could. It really could.
I mean, it is theirs. Going forward, I mean, Minnesota, obviously we'll talk more in the future about that, but I think it's Detroit's. If they do everything right, it's theirs.
Yeah.
Number 7. I got Las Vegas. Not taking a quarterback here with Anthony Richardson still on the board. I got him taking Peter Skoronski, Northwestern. Tackle. I've seen people talking about how they might kick him to guard because his arms are short, but man, he's such a technician. He plays the position perfectly.
Yeah,
He
very
knows
good.
exactly how to get into his sets. He is strong, but he just lacks the arm length, really. I mean, he could play guard or right tackle either way, but still left tackle, I think he deserves a shot there. Because I mean, he played 881 snaps this year. He allowed 1 sack, 2 pressures, I want to say, and that's all off him being the left tackle. Even with these
Yeah.
short arms, and Big Ten produces DNs, so
Yeah.
he's played some tough competition there. And I just think overall he's just the best tackle ready lineman just because of his ability with his feet to be in any set, be ready to go on any play. And I think Vegas will be looking. Obviously, there's a talk with Rodgers. Who knows? But they got to shore up that offensive line. Whoever's back there, and Skoronski will be a starter on that line, regardless of position for the next multiple years.
Plug and play.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And 8, I got Atlanta going Miles Murphy from Clemson. I think they love DNs with size. Their GM and their DC both were in New Orleans, I want to say, and they drafted Davenport down there. They draft big D lineman, and Miles Murphy fits the mold. He's 6'5", 275. Atlanta needs a pass rush. They have been trash. They haven't had a double-digit sack since Vic Beasley, and that's bad. You know what I mean? And they need help, and Miles Murphy fits the mold of a DC, of the GM. They just love big DNs, and I think they're not going to be able to resist Miles Murphy. He's just a freak athlete, and if he pans out, I mean, that's a guy that you'd love to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Carolina, I think, goes the 4th quarterback in the top 10, Anthony Richardson. I think the hype's going to continue to build on the guy. Sure, people might say, oh, that he might go 15-ish, but it's a quarterback and it's the NFL draft. They all skyrocket, except one who goes down a little bit, and that's Stroud, obviously, this year.
Right.
But, I mean, Richardson, 6'4", 232. He's huge body, cannon of an arm. His release is quick. It's silk. He can use his legs to extend plays. Frank Reich just getting into Carolina. You have Sam Darnold there. Sure, they compete. Maybe Darnold does start a game or two. But you've got Richardson just getting coached up by Frank, just ready to go. And it's just the future for Carolina. They don't really have the bright spot there. They have some weapons. The defense is playing well. Well, if Anthony Richardson can come in, use his legs, obviously there's the Cam comparison, especially in Carolina. Just come in, be a guy that has the ability to throw deep, but we can use your legs as well with our amazing defense, get some short fields. And it's just the fact Frank Reich's there. He gets the quarterback that he can develop. The accuracy is obviously the question mark. 53% completion percentage this year. I mean, it's tough, but at the end of the day, Josh Allen, you know what I mean? The accuracy can improve, especially when you get weapons at the next level and if the team uses them right. So I think Carolina goes Richardson. And then Philly here, I think this is just a pick that they've earned, you know what I mean? Obviously good trades, but this is just a want at this point. And Brian Branch from Bama, man, with the secondary question marks, they might be losing multiple guys, Gardner Johnson, Bradbury, you don't know. You get a 6 foot, 193 safety corner. He can play nickel. I mean, he's versatile. He's an elite tackler, 24 run stops this year alone. And the guy only had 4 missed tackles of his entire career at Bama. I mean, the guy just makes plays, and it's the multiple positions. And I think he's the best safety, and he can play that nickel as well. He's just ultra reliable guy, willing to be aggressive, and he's just a good athlete in the secondary. I will say, needs to improve his hands a little bit, but I mean, that's just like, we're talking defensive guy. He makes plays, so he's a great tackler. Wish he could make more plays on the ball in the air, but still. So I think Philly does just shore up the secondary there with a 1 pick with Brian Branch.
I love that. Honestly, looking back at 6 through 10 here, I really like Tyree Wilson. I hope he goes to the combine. You know, a lot of dudes opt out. I hope him and Anthony Richardson both go to the combine because they are going to test off the charts.
Off the charts. I mean, they're freak athletes.
Freak athletes. I'm excited about 2 pro days. I could care less about, not care less, but I'm not nearly as excited about Bryce Young or CJ Stroud's pro days because we know what they can do. Yeah. But I want to see what Levis and Allen, I've written AR, which was a mistake because I want to say Allen Robinson every time. But Anthony Richardson, I want to see what they do at their pro days and how they're just out there slinging the rock. I mean, these dudes are
Richardson's going to have 1 throw where he's running cross body and everyone's going to go, man, add everything else together if he pans out, and that he's just going to skyrocket.
Yeah, and I love him to Carolina. I love him with Frank Reich because if there's a coach out there that's going to get the most out of him right now of the QB needy teams, I'm sorry, I'm not trusting Houston. I'm not trusting D'Amico Ryans yet. I'm not trusting Indy, whose name I can't think of the coach's name now.
Shane Steichen, I think.
Like, and I'm not
Yeah.
trusting him yet. And Seattle, I like Stroud, but he's not going to play this year because Geno will probably play. So
Yeah.
I love Allen. I love AR to
Yeah, and
Frank
you
Reich.
bring up Vegas as well, McDaniels. It's such an elaborate system,
Yeah,
you know.
it'll take
You
way
know, it's
too long
not-
for him to learn. He
Exactly.
needs a basic system that's quarterback friendly, so that way he can learn it quick. And when he doesn't learn it right away, he can rely on his physical attributes to get him through. I love that pick. And then Branch is probably best defensive player on the board at that point. Best all around. You mentioned the tackles. Only 4 missed tackles in a season for Alabama, who play against the best competition by
I
far.
actually think the 4 missed tackles is his career.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
even
all
better.
3 years starting. Yeah, exactly. Which
Wow.
is even more point because you're right. They play these. They're in the SEC. They play the best athletes in college football.
Yeah, and this is just a for fun pick. It's like, hey, we just played in the Super Bowl. We're gonna lose these guys in the back
Yeah,
end.
exactly.
Let's just retool. Let's just get
add
ready to
another
go
guy,
again.
add an elite
First
section.
rounders.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that. I really like all those picks. Honestly, Murphy and Wilson are great for those defensive lines. I like Atlanta making that move.
Yeah,
And
after I read some stuff about how the Atlanta front office coming from New Orleans, they just love these huge DNs. I mean, guys that just have the build, and he's got that. And I
That's
just
mine.
think they're gonna fall in love. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. All right, first 10 picks are in. I like
Boom.
all of them. Let's keep it rolling. What you got going
Yes,
for us
sir.
at 11?
11, Tennessee gonna be needing to replace Taylor Lewan. Paris Johnson from Ohio State. I mean, guy 6'6", 310. He was built in a lab to play left tackle in the NFL. He's got size, strength, athleticism. The only improvement I see that needs is his hands. He's a little bit late getting them to the DN, so sometimes he gets hit first. But his size and strength has allowed him to still win those reps. But in the NFL, you're going up against a guy that's going to be pretty much just as big as you, if not just as strong as you. So obviously he'll need to improve those hands. But Tennessee gets a left tackle, chip block guy out there for the next multiple years, because whoever's their quarterback is going to need somebody. And Derrick Henry, it helps to have a huge lineman on that left side. And obviously Lewan, he says he's gone. You know what I mean? He's like, how am I not cut? It just makes sense for the organization. So it's like, well, if that's the case, let's go get a guy to replace him immediately in Paris Johnson.
And he's all in on his podcast. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
like that's what he likes doing now. He's found an easier way to make a ton of money where he's not killing himself.
I mean, and like his body sort of has been through the ringer a little bit through the league. You know what I mean? He's been beat up. He's had multiple injuries. His body's breaking down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Now here we go with 12 at Houston, and I know everybody thinks, oh, bang receiver to get him with that quarterback. I just think they have so many holes as well. It's similar to the Bears. Like, you want to go get that receiver, but when the rest of the team is also bad, there's still so many things that you need to improve on. So I got to take Brian Brees, 6'5", 305, interior lineman from Clemson.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's a concern. He's already torn his ACL once, but he's an immediate plug and play guy. He is huge, 6'5", interior guy. He's long. He's played on the edge even at Clemson, so he is versatile. So, I mean, and just the fact that he's huge, his body's huge, his arms are long, and he's a D tackle guy that's going to be, you pick him, he's going to be playing day one starter for Houston. And obviously there's a rotation with the D tackles, but he's going to be getting a majority of snaps. Number 13, and here we go with the first receiver off the board, Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State. Go pair him up with his boy, Garrett Wilson. And you look at the Jets receiver room, Corey Davis, it's either going to be a cut or a restructure. Elijah Moore, there's complaints. Mims is just straight up a bum. I mean, they have everything they need on the secondary and on the defensive side of the football. You know, they have running backs, Breece Hall coming back. You add a weapon, especially if you go out and get a guy, Derek Carr, at quarterback. It's an additional weapon, and it helps the depth there, considering they might lose a piece in Corey Davis, and it's just you have 2 stud receivers and they have chemistry, and obviously you don't need receivers chemistry, but it's just good for overall morale for the team. Yeah. And I think that's a weapon that Derek Carr could use if he goes there, and I think that's going to be the play they make. So
yeah, I hope so.
Definitely like Smith-Njigba there. And then 14, Belichick is licking his chops at Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. I mean, the guy is a glove, 6 foot, and he's glue. And he played like 540 man snaps out of his like 700 snaps. He has quarterbacks would have a better passer rating spiking the ball every play than if they threw it at him. He has a 25 passer rating when they throw at him. It is absolutely insane. Doesn't have Interceptions we like to see those higher, but it's just a situation where do they throw at him? They know that he's a clamp out there and the receiver's not open. So if they're throwing it, it's already deflected. He's just an absolute elite corner. Belichick can't resist, goes and gets his guy in a secondary you're going to eventually lose McCourty up there in age, and it's just another piece. He's a plug and play, absolute island kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then 15, I got Green Bay finally doing something for Aaron Rodgers on the offensive side of the ball, but not at receiver. Michael Mayer from Notre Dame, 6'4", 245. Those needs, especially if they lose Tunyon, especially if they lose Lazard. Over 2 years, he had over 1,600 yards, 135 catches. But what I love about him is that he can block as well. They might lose Mercedes Lewis as well, who is an elite blocker. That's pretty much why he's in the league nowadays. And Meyer comes in, he's able to give you a little bit of Tunyon, a little bit of Lewis. He can do it all, and you're able to replace Tunyon without having to pay him. And Meyer's just a go up and get it kind of guy. Elite receiving tight end from Notre Dame. And I think Green Bay finally gets Rodgers some help.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah.
10 through 15 or 11 through 15, very solid. I think Tennessee definitely has to address the offensive line.
Yeah.
They have to. I don't know who's going to play quarterback for him. There's words that Tannehill's out. They clearly didn't like Malik Willis enough to play him.
Josh Dobbs coming
Josh
back and he gets a shot. Maybe, but then that's not the future. And then
that's not what you want.
His receiver talk a little bit because Burke obviously didn't play all year, injuries, but it's just you lose AJ Brown. That's really tough, and it's dang, we need to replace that guy. But I think offensive line is a bigger need. And Paris Johnson is like an elite tackle.
Yeah, all three of the top offensive linemen in this draft are fantastic. I'm a big fan of all three of them. They all bring different things to the table, and we haven't even talked about Broderick Jones yet, and he's a stud. We haven't talked about any of the guards like Osiris Torrance, who's fantastic, and we've got the DeJuan Jones out of, I believe, is he out of Ohio State? Or is that Tennessee? Yeah, DeJuan Jones out of Ohio State, 1 sack in his collegiate career.
That's insane. That's insanity.
There's really good offensive line prospects, and Tennessee gets one of the best. I like that. And I like Brzee at 12. When you first said it, my initial thought was, I would have probably taken like Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez here for them. But they just took Derek Stingley. Yep. And, okay, so we've got a good young corner, but we have nothing else on that defense. No. Go with a fantastic interior defensive line with some versatility. I think DeMeco Ryans will love that.
I almost went corner because you brought up Stingley, and I'm thinking, man, they could go get the opposite guy, and you think those two guys are your corners for the next 4 or 5 years. But their line was also just so piss poor. Like you said, it's a lot. It's a rock in the middle of the defense. Yep. DeMeco Ryans loves it, and San Fran, they come from a good defensive line, and you just can't ignore what Brzee brings.
Agreed. And then I hate these picks because they're great picks, but JSN to the Jets, that's fantastic. You need another weapon there. Corey Davis is going to be gone most likely. If not, it's Corey Davis, who's old and not as good as he was.
Once a year, yeah.
Right, and if they do bring in a Derek Carr's coming into an offense with weapons like JSN and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Yikes.
Yeah, please, thank you. And on that, you just had that defensive, like Derek Carr, just come in and do enough, man.
Just don't come in and be bad, please. Just be average. An average quarterback with that team is very scary. And then Devin Witherspoon. I'm an Illinois guy. I hate seeing him go to New England because he is an awesome corner. He's my first corner off the board in every mock draft I do. I think he's fantastic. He could go as high as 6 or 7.
I saw a mock with him going, 6 to the Lions. So
yeah, I could definitely see that.
Depending on where these corners are going, because it's a deep and elite class.
Yeah, it's a fantastic corner class. And then, Meyer, fantastic tight end. Losing Tunyon, they got to replace it. They can't pay anybody. Thanks a lot, Aaron.
Yeah.
And so you bring in a stud tight end, and you hope that Christian Watson continues to develop and Romeo Doubs continues to develop, or maybe you take a wide receiver later down the draft.
Yeah, I just love though that Rodgers at the end of his career, his whole weapons are all young guys that have done nothing, and they have to prove it with him now. Yeah.
Old Rodgers, yeah.
Watson did look good at the end of the year though, so but Meyer helps them, and it's just you cannot continue to ignore it. Like they eventually have to draft somebody on offense, and Meyer is a great offensive-minded tight end, and he can block, which I love too.
Yeah, agreed. Plus, a lot of like the top. The blue chip defensive players are already off the board. So you're kind of forcing the GM
sort of forcing them. Yeah, exactly. They just lost out on the number 1 receiver too. So it's like, well, shit. Yeah. Quentin Johnson's interesting, but we'll take that tight end.
Yeah, I would go with Meyer too. All right.